In ancient China, there lived a man who walked the troubled roads of a crumbling empire. But he wasn't a warrior or a king. He carried no weapons. He wore no crown. His name was Confucius. What he offered wasn't a revolution of the sword, but of the mind, a new way of seeing the world, not through domination, but through harmony. He didn't speak of winning arguments. He spoke of becoming better through them. To Confucius, life wasn't about silencing your critics. It was about listening to them, even when it hurt. Because sometimes the sharpest words cut not to wound, but to shape. His philosophy still echoes today, and if we listen closely, it might just change the way we face one of the hardest parts of modern life: criticism.
There's a moment that hits harder than we expect. You're in the middle of your day, maybe at work, maybe scrolling your phone, and someone says something that stings. A comment, a correction. Maybe it's fair, maybe it isn't, but it lands. And suddenly you're spiraling. You start replaying it in your head again and again. Was I wrong? Am I not good enough? Why did they say that? In today's world, criticism doesn't come slowly. It comes fast, loud, and often from people who don't even know us. A coworker, a stranger online, even friends or family. And the weight of it can crush more than our mood. It can shatter our confidence, our focus, even our sense of self. We've grown up in a culture that celebrates self-esteem, but rarely teaches resilience. We're told to believe in ourselves, but not how to stand tall when that belief is challenged. And so we shrink, we get defensive, or we lash out. We scroll, we sulk, we shut down. But here's a quiet question that lingers behind all that noise. What if criticism, even the harsh kind, doesn't have to break us? What if it could build us? Not in the way motivational quotes suggest, but in a deeper, quieter sense. Is it possible that our biggest moments of growth don't come from praise, but from discomfort? Maybe, just maybe, there's another way to face judgment, one that doesn't leave us bitter, but wiser. Confucius once said, "The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions." But it's another quote, quieter and sharper, that speaks more directly to our hearts. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inwards and examine ourselves. It's a simple line, but it changes everything. Most of us, when confronted with criticism, look outwards. They misunderstood me. They judged too quickly. They were unfair. Maybe that's true. But Confucius doesn't start there. He starts inside. He lived in a time of political chaos, corrupt rulers, broken systems, violent shifts. And yet he rarely shouted at the world. Instead, he asked, "What does this say about me? What can I learn from this?" It wasn't weakness. It was strength, the kind that doesn't panic in the face of blame, but grows from it. Confucius didn't teach us to accept every word of judgment blindly, but he warned against arrogance, the kind that hardens the heart and closes the ears. To him, even unjust criticism could be useful, not because it was true, but because our reaction to it revealed something deeper about ourselves. Think of that. The moment you feel offended might not be the moment to argue. It might be the moment to reflect. This isn't easy, and Confucius knew that. That's why his path wasn't about perfection. It was about discipline, humility, and long-term transformation. And in a world like ours, where every word can be a trigger, and every opinion feels like an attack, maybe that ancient way of seeing criticism isn't outdated. Maybe it's the thing we're missing most. So, how do we actually apply this? It begins with something most of us avoid: stillness. not reacting immediately, not crafting a response while someone is still speaking, just pausing. In that pause, something powerful happens. We shift from "how dare they say that" to "why does this affect me so deeply?" Confucius wasn't asking us to bow down to every opinion. He was asking us to become strong enough to face our ego, to ask, with honesty, if there's truth in what was said, even if it hurts. Imagine a friend tells you, "You've been distant lately." The first instinct might be to deny it. "I've been busy, you don't understand my schedule." But step back. Is there truth there? Have you been pulling away? What are you afraid to feel? Now, imagine a manager says, "Your work needs improvement." You might feel defensive. "They don't appreciate me." But breathe. Could they be right? Even a little? Are you showing up fully, or just enough to get by? This is the Confucian path. Not passive, not weak, but brutally honest with oneself. He knew that the world is full of voices, some kind, some cruel, some careless. We can't control what others say, but we can control how deeply we look inward. The modern world tells us to protect our self-esteem at all costs, but Confucius invites us to do the opposite, to let feedback become a mirror, showing us not just who we are, but who we could become. And there's more. Sometimes criticism isn't about you at all. It reflects the critic's fears, pain, or projections. Confucius would say, observe this too, not with judgment, but with clarity. To grow, we must separate two things, the message and the delivery. Yes, the tone might be off, the timing might be bad, but is the core idea worth hearing? If you can hear the truth, even when it's spoken poorly, you've stepped into a rare kind of strength. You're no longer driven by ego, but by wisdom. Let's go even further. What about unfair criticism? Confucius doesn't say you must accept everything, but he warns against reaction without reflection. If the criticism is false, ask, why do they see me this way? Maybe you've sent mixed signals. Maybe they don't know the full story. Maybe they're just wrong. Either way, it's a chance to respond, not to defend your image, but to clarify your values. The goal isn't to win the argument, it's to grow your character. And there's a strange peace in this, because once you stop needing to be right, you start becoming real. One more thing, Confucius believed. He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in danger. Criticism, when met with thoughtfulness, becomes learning. Criticism, when met with ego, becomes danger. So here's the question. When someone criticizes you, do you flinch or do you learn? Your answer will shape not just your relationships, but your entire life.
Now, let's bring it back to your life, here, today. You don't live in ancient China. You live in a digital age where comments flood in, where people speak without thinking, where reputations can rise and fall with a single tweet. So, how does Confucius help you here? First, practice the pause. Next time someone critiques you, whether it's online, at work, or at home, pause. Take one breath. Then ask, what is this teaching me? Not, how do I fight back? Not, how do I prove them wrong? But simply, what's the truth here, if any? Second, journal your reactions. If something hits a nerve, write about it. Why did it sting? What fear or belief did it trigger? Confucius believed self-examination wasn't an event, it was a daily habit. Third, separate tone from truth. Some people aren't good at giving feedback, but that doesn't mean their message is worthless. Train yourself to hear the core of what's being said, even when it's said harshly. This gives you an advantage most people don't have: emotional agility. Fourth, seek feedback. Don't wait for it. Ask a trusted friend or mentor, "Where do you think I could grow?" This flips the dynamic. You're no longer afraid of criticism, you're inviting it. And that alone makes you stronger than most. Fifth, teach by example. Respond to criticism with grace, not to impress anyone, but because someone is always watching. A colleague, a child, a friend. Your calm might become their model. In all this, remember, Confucian wisdom is about long-term character, not short-term comfort. It's not about silencing critics. It's about building yourself so solidly that their words don't shake you, because you've already examined yourself. In a world addicted to praise, try being someone who grows from discomfort. In a culture that tells you to fight back, try being the one who reflects first. There is strength in stillness. There is power in self-examination. There is freedom in not needing to be right, only to be better. Confucius didn't live for applause. He lived to refine the soul. And that means every piece of criticism, fair or not, becomes a tool in your transformation. So the next time someone judges you, before you speak, pause. Before you react, listen. Before you defend yourself, examine. Not because they're right, but because you are willing to grow. That's the path of the superior person. Not perfect, but awake. And if you walk that path, quietly, steadily, again and again, you might just become someone even your harshest critics admire. Not because you silenced them, but because you listened and rose higher.